Mind the Monkey Studio! Unleash the personalities!
Behind the music, Lil Simia, We the People, the Tyranny, Part 2. Verse 1. Filled circle, unknown future of politically charged hate, in this time of darkened uncertainty. Filled circle, narrated lies undeniably losing credibility, Pandora's box of truth bursting. Fourth, destroying bought off slanderous news owned by corporations like BlackRock, Vanguard, etc. As in 5 corporations own 95% of the media control of information. Filled circle, Bidenomics hard at work intentionally created to bankrupt the poor and middle-class Americans, forcing the dependence of government to help. Sustained inflation gone awry, many asking why. Must I decide with prices so high, either food to stay alive or paying bills to satisfy? Filled circle, if that's not enough to bankrupt a nation, another aggression to the ignition. A prediction that is coming true in bits and pieces of current events which caused a 2-day stock market crash around August 2024, 2 months after the release of this song, one of many intentional tyrannical behavior. 1. The treasonous use of taxpayer dollars, money laundering through foreign wars that benefit private companies like BlackRock, Lockheed and Martin, the military, industrial complex, etc. Wars started for profit at the cost of innocent lives. Sending billions of taxpayer dollars to Ukraine. Lack of representation, lactating taxation, spent funding foreign wars with no victor's crown. Filled circle, Baltimore Bridge is falling down, the shipping company that caused a total collapse of the Baltimore Bridge as well as some fatalities has yet to be held responsible. Instead, Kamala and Joe suggests taxpayers should be liable for financing the entire cost of the rebuild. Filled circle, derailing tree and scattered around. The 2 biggest events, for too many to list them all. East Palestine, Ohio train derailment, hazardous chemical spill contaminating water, land, air, etc., which took weeks for the White House to respond. And, even then, they were hesitant on assisting. Another train incident that a majority of souls on the globe has yet to hear. 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrite used to make very powerful IEDs just vanished from a train in the middle of transit. No updates yet to be given. First reported by NBC News May 10, 2023. Filled circle, as Maui fires burn all over town. An unreal fire wiped out Maui, a fire with many suspicious ends connected back to government tyranny. This same administration with Joe Biden president and Kamala Harris vice president gave hundreds of billions of American taxpayer dollars to Ukraine, while later on gave the citizens of Maui $700 each, another taxation without representation. Reference. Filled circle, don't dare escape by plane, it's not mechanically safe. Boeing airplane manufacturing company having mechanical issues leading to unsafe environments, especially in space when Boeing had a spacecraft malfunction leaving astronauts stranded on the International Space Station. Many mechanical issues on planes lately, not just Boeing made either. Filled circle, just make a claim, I am a refugee, the illegal usage of war to intentionally cross a country's border through a refugee program that allows caravans of non-citizens the opportunity to just walk across the border unvetted. Filled circle, get free money, vote and decide, full citizen rights, given a place to stay. No worry, it's all paid. The border czar Kamala Harris blatantly refuses to close the border, dating back to the planned COVID pandemic, an act of war by China. Not only an intentional open border, but the treasonous act of giving aid and support is one thing, but to use an American Congress to give these non-citizens full American rights, like voting rights for illegals, which all Democrats in Congress voted for while Republicans denied their request, these illegals are given housing while our American veterans sleep on the streets. This housing is at the cost of American taxpayers, give you and me. Filled circle, the new American way, you don't get a say, presidents handpicked by career politicians without voter consent, subversion of voters in the primaries by Democrats and Kamala Harris, who jail anyone who exposes their individual crimes. Communism 101. Filled circle, wrong, may it be going through the back door in order to gain entry. Intentionally flooding the country with non-citizens while attempting to give Them a right to vote is treason, why sneak through a country's back door when the front door is always open for business, just saying. Filled circle, adding insult to injury. An invasion to commemorate those lost one fateful September day. Oh how fast career politicians forget 9/11 when classified intel implicates U.S. government aid in terrorism September 10, 2001 when billions of tax payer funds just vanished from the Pentagon. The very next morning the hijacking of Zero planes that slammed into the World Trade Centers. While a secret government scheme was happening at ground level, the financing for this attack linked to the Pentagon, which was also hit by a missile, then a helicopter. Next is a double-edged cover-up to billions of dollars vanishing 24 hours prior. Filled circle, years later lo and behold. Naked, the world's eyes clearly seen, weapons handed over to Taliban enemies. The war in Afghanistan considered an operational failure. When in the final days President Joe Biden blatantly and incompetently withdrew from Afghanistan, so abruptly resulting in the deaths of 13 American soldiers, as well as the decision to leave billions of dollars of military tech behind, which fell into the hands of the Taliban, who also overthrew Afghanistan in the process of the American withdrawal, another money laundering tactic similar to 9/11, or even Joe sending billions to Ukraine. Behind the music, Lil Simia, We the People, the Tyranny, Part 2. Verse 2. Filled circle, millions of eyes wondering why Joe wants to hide audio tapes from sight. What might we find that he can't lie? The audio tapes between Joe Biden and Special Counsel Robert Hur, regarding Biden's illegal collection of classified documents in which the Biden administration's own Attorney General Merrick Garland refused to prosecute, on grounds of Biden is mentally unfit to face trial. And still to this day Merrick Garland violates congressional subpoenas to hand over those tapes, while he himself throws Republicans Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro in jail for literally doing exactly what Merrick Garland himself is doing in 2024. The coordinate road efforts between DOJ protecting Joe Biden while attacking political opponents equals weaponized DOJ. The observation says this is treated different from Richard Nixon at Watergate as well as Donald J. Trump, with his presidential audio tapes being used in his politically motivated trials. Filled circle, in the same aspect he willingly drafted to mask daughter daddy shower time. The treasonous act of using the FBI to cover up Joe Biden molesting his daughter in the shower many times, confirmed by Ashley Biden herself in her diary that she later confirmed was real when the FBI colluded with fact checkers. WHK labeled Ashley Biden's personal diary as false information. Can't be false, the person who wrote the diary confirmed it was real. Filled circle, another Joe Biden crime left without justice. A massive rap sheet that includes bribery of foreign officials while being a SATTING vice president using Hunter Biden's Ukraine Burisma business selling secrets for protection, the definition of mafia crime family. Also Joe Biden and Epstein client currently holding the power to declassify the Epstein files. Currently the client list is the most protected document on earth, as Biden's DOJ convicted the main associate of Epstein and his mistress Maxwell of sex trafficking to absolutely no one, while public record court testimony implicates former President Bill Clinton as a client, proven facts by a victim of Bill Clinton. Filled circle, This Is Us burst them in the battle to save the US of a Chinese spies have infiltrated the USA government. China COVID, China helped steal the 2020 election. China hand-selected Obama, attempted to hijack the country using Hillary Clinton 2016, then Joe Biden 2020, and now Kamala Harris. Tim Walz 2024. Walz admitted on national TV in the Vice presidential debate that he learned everything about government from China while living in China, while accepting profits from China in the 1980s. Filled circle, protecting kids from pedophile elites that pulled the trigger on Epstein to hide names of corrupted elites. The Democrats' obsession to mutilate children by sterilization of genitals, which prevents the human right to birth children as adults. Young boys no longer have the required ingredients, and in the young girls permanently remove the womb by means of hormone suppression and surgery. The undeniable proof of covered-up truth. Jeffrey Epstein, human child sex trafficker, was murdered in a jail cell during a security camera malfunction. Epstein was set to turn state's evidence against his very clients. already proven to be a client. Bill Clinton, his wife Hillary falsified Russian collusion hoax in 2016 when Trump legally won the election, the treasonous act of overthrowing a duly elected by the people sitting president. Filled circle, tyranny leading to fallen country, a second American revolution brewing through tyrannical government behavior. Filled circle, if you believe hoist the colors upside down in every town, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End movie reference when Elizabeth Swann, Queen of the Brethren Court, gave the final call for unity, a rebellion against a tyrannical government. The words hoist the colors to save a pirate's way of life. A flag flown upside down, the international military symbol for a country in distress. Filled circle, with not a sound signaling distress, silent majority speaking out of sight. An autistic's way of communication, silence. The peaceful act of rebellion against a tyrannical government signaling distress to the U.S. military. Just like a trend, a majority of Americans signal distress, a trend carried by the wind. Military steps in to say this must end. Filled circle, not giving up without a fight. Divided we fall, united we defend what's right for all. Unity even between personal enemies for a greater cause, preventing World War III. Unity through the ballot box against a tyrannical government, the first peaceful and bloodless revolution in history. Behind the music, Lil Simia, We the People, the Tyranny, Part 2. Verse 3. Filled circle, sounds of the revolution spread like pollution. The outpour of political truths destroying the falsified media narratives. Pollution as in geo-engineered weather manipulation to increase personal bank accounts through climate change, including a mass GL global industrial shutdown. This week Slater did three things in reality. 1. Caused an extremely rare inland hurricane to dissect the Midwest states in 2020. 2. Caused the ozone layer to seal up so much NASA caught it on satellite imagery in 2020. 3. Caused 5 Atlantic hurricanes to appear at the same exact time in the same exact week in 2020. 4. Then 2024 Hurricane Helena geoengineered to hit Asheville, NC, where BlackRock Corporation's recently purchased a lithium deposit for $90 million. The hurricane gives them an opportunity to seize, as in Steele, the land and property of American homeowners. BlackRock also can create housing for government-led housing initiative. Then they can proceed to make profit by jacking up rent. Manufactured housing crisis. Filled circle, calling to attention the non-compliant and defiant fierce sleeping giant. Two-word phrase feared by the world, spoken in one of the most historical speeches of all time by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, specifically used after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor as an enemy disguised as a friend. Then President Roosevelt declared war on Japan, which in bigger picture was known as World War II, the height of Adolf Hitler's mass genocide of over 2 million Jews, the Holocaust, made possible by compliance with tyranny, info control, fear-monger, psychological brainwashing, even indoctrination of children, all blind to what was really happening behind the scenes. Filled circle, flipping irate and displeased, witnessing corrupted elite behind the scenes. Proven deceit. We the people witnessing the once hidden now in plain sight government coups of weaponization and collusion of tyranny cover-up implicating mainstream news, big tech, DOJ, CIA, IRS, Secret Service, FBI, members of Congress, CEOs, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, NATO. BlackRock aired a commercial colluding with the would-be assassin crooks, who murdered at least one individual in an attempt to harm presidential candidate on July 13. BlackRock owns mainstream news with Vanguard, both the top shareholders in 90% of mainstream news. The September 15th attempted assassin Ruth appeared in a Ukrainian propaganda commercial for a few seconds, then months later attempted to cause harm to presidential candidate Donald Trump. A coordination of multiple high-risk violent countries orchestrating a world-wide takeover headed by the democratic dictatorship called the New World Order. Filled circle, impeached Trump for an illusion of collusion in 2016, acquitted naturally. An intentional attempt to overthrow a duly elected by the people president by falsifying evidence used to then illegally impeach a sitting president. A few observations. 1. The reason all the evidence was handy right from the start of Trump's term. Democrats actually attempted to steal the 2016 election but underestimated how many people stood behind Trump, Note those numbers were accounted for to successfully steal the 2020 election from we the people. 2. This same level of corruption was once used as a cover-up to illegally attack Richard Nixon at Watergate. Nixon was about to expose corruption within government agencies dating back even before his presidency. Then resignation, assigned someone much more powerful, was needed to stop tyrannical government behavior. 3. Even back in 2018, signs of foreign interference in American elections was noticed by then-President Trump, who once again in 2020 brought up the China who purposefully set loose a man-made biological weapon on Earth. Acts of war against many countries, quite honestly. 4. Upon leaving the White House in 2021, Trump formed the office of former President of USA, a vital piece to preserving an entire administration under the powers of devolution, forcing military to protect Trump as president like we are at war. China's COVID, US taxpayer funds sent to Wuhan lab in China is a sign of foreign interference in the 2020 election. Now this is important info for the reason that Trump knew all of this, prompting the signage of a few extra executive orders, specifically EO 13848 special precautions in case of foreign interference in elections. Just one of a few executive orders sparking devolution into law. A military sting operation was then put in effect that only a select few individuals knew about. A top-secret covert operation to preserve American rights granted by God through the U.S. Constitution being destroyed by a tyrannical government. 1. Being president had its benefits classified. Intel implicates weaponized agencies being used to attack all who oppose. Some of America's history happened due to government agency weaponization. 1. The assassination of JFK, a classified CIA operation. JFK was about to expose the corruption within government even way back then. 2. Richard Nixon had his hands on the classified JFK assassination files, and he found the Chia's involvement in that specific murder very intriguing. So much so Richard Nixon was using that info to attempt to bring down the corrupted individuals. The missing minutes of audio tapes from the Watergate scandal show a tampering of evidence. The very piece of evidence that would have proved Richard Nixon was about to end government tyranny, until those same audio tapes were used against Nixon in slanderous fashion by media who Malcolm X once said has the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. 3. Anyone who touches the classified JFK files and threatens to expose the CIA in the murder of a president get attacked by that very weaponization. 4. The classified 9/11 files implicating government involvement in terrorism, including using U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund the entire mass casualty event just like COVID-19 in 2020. 5. The Epstein client list, currently the most protected document on Earth. The clients: Hollywood celebs, politicians. The gatekeeper, TV personality Oprah Winfrey. The organizer: Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted of trafficking kids to absolutely no one. Filled circle: with the label "you're a criminal, take the fall for my crimes in disguise." The decades upon decades of two-tier justice. If you stand against the deep state, you get charged for their past crimes that they themselves have committed. Dodge protects certain corrupted individuals while prosecuting anyone who attempt to expose tyrannical government behavior. Filled circle: of course media won't expose the family of Biden crime. The media is owned by the same corporations that have been profiting from government tyrannical behavior: BlackRock, Vanguard, etc. The controllers of information that have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent, and that is the most powerful entity on earth. Malcolm X. The media isn't just covering up for Joe Biden, as Hillary Clinton has still not faced prosecution for illegally having classified material on her private server linked to Benghazi, where American soldiers were just left to die. That specific server of Clinton's had a lot of incriminating evidence profiting from war, insider trading, a link back to Epstein. Hillary violated a court subpoena by destroying the incriminating server. A crime still left without justice. Filled circle: censoring facts, pushing false narratives, propagandized fear-mongering tactics subliminally imposed, meant to separate mind from soul. Hitler once used the media to censor the mass genocide of Jews as it was happening in real time. The use of media allowed Hitler to fearmonger and brainwash the masses to turn in their neighbor for harboring Jews. Similar to COVID lockdown in 2020. Hitler also indoctrinated the youth through the education system, pushing political agendas rather than actual knowledge. The Holocaust happened due to a lack of knowing exactly what the government was doing behind the scenes, which eventually Pandora's box of truth busted at the seams, revealing tyranny of mass genocide, filled circle, distractions hiding murdered ESPTEINS sex ring, bribery treasonous, presidential tyranny, man-mad viruses almost every election year, Y2K, SARS, bird flu, H1N1, swine flu, mad cow disease, COVID-19, West Nile virus. Just to name a few. Orchestrated violent events. George Floyd BLM riots of 2020. Funded by Democratic entities. Kika George Soros, a known neo-Nazi billionaire. Anarcha Capitol riot. The lawfare of political opponents. Assassination attempts traced back to Democrat entities behind the events. Palestine anti-Israel riots. School shootings to use politically to ban guns. As Tim Walz says he is friends with school shooters. A bomb threat in Springfield, Ohio to hide illegal immigrants stealing and eating people's pets. A hurricane to hide the BlackRock lithium field purchase in Asheville, NC. Lithium used to make batteries for electric vehicles, profiting from intentional, with time precision aim human-made climate change. All the distractions to hide real tyrannical treasonous crimes against humanity stemming from Democrats in the US government in high places of power. Crimes that get pinned on anyone who exposes the agenda of the New World Order. Crimes such as rape, sex trafficking, illicit drug manufacturing through pharmaceutical companies, starting wars for profit, funding terrorism, selling federal secrets through stealing classified documents. Filled circle, seeking to imprison the opposition. Prosecution of Julian Assange, who exposed every classified email from Hillary Clinton's private server, perfectly timed before Hillary destroyed said server, violating court subpoenas to hand them over peacefully. Assange was a smart man but was a criminal, rightfully so, for he did illegally hacked government servers and released what he found on his website, WikiLeaks. But something deeper was found in Hillary's server for Julian Assange linked profit in Hillary Clinton's personal finances back to Benghazi, as she ordered the total abandonment of our American troops who ultimately died in the aftermath, while Hillary Clinton lined her own pockets with money directly linked to the catastrophic event at Benghazi. The multinational effort to cause harm to an American presidential candidate. The multinational effort to interfere in American elections. The multinational effort to control information. Censorship of the truth. The bot paid for experts. The outpour of hate just for having beliefs and morals. Signs of socialism, fascism, communism, dictatorship. A second Holocaust. A second American Revolution. A third World War is looming closer and closer. All who oppose get criminally prosecuted by weaponized government agencies. Filled circle, violating the Constitution. To continue corruption by rigging elections with political persecution. The impeachments and criminal prosecution of President Trump have broken 97% of all court laws and procedures set within the U.S. Constitution. 1. Jack Smith admitted to tampering with evidence in the classified documents case that Supreme Court ruled he had no business or authority to even bring the case. 2. Fani Willis was found to have violated code of ethics set by the Bar Association that still allowed to prosecute Trump in a politically motivated case of subverting the will of voters in 2020 election. 3. Kamala Harris subverted the will of voters by being hand-selected by career politicians to be presidential nominee. This accomplished by hiding President Joe Biden's dementia for 3 years, allowing him to win the Democratic nomination through the legal primaries until a presidential debate against Trump. Then every major Democrat called for Biden to drop out an orchestrated coup to steal the nomination from Biden and just give it to Kamala without voter consent, subverting the will of voters. 2024 Democratic dictatorship. The weaponization of DOJ against political opponents. Dating even back to Richard Nixon at Watergate, the same corrupted, tyrannical government behavior that Trump is facing in 2024. In fact, even rich celebs get protected by a two-tier banana republic justice system. Sean P. Diddy Combs since the 1990s has hosted drug-fueled sex trafficking, Parties with high-class musicians and actors, including minors like Justin Bieber. At the time, Diddy also was a massive part in the careers of Tupac and Biggie, who both in their own way their lyrical raps were exposing Diddy and his sex parties. Diddy then ordered a hit on both Tupac and Biggie, which history shows both murdered in front of the same building, just at different times. Connections that could come in the criminal prosecution of Sean Combs, who up till now had special protection by DOJ for Epstein's sex ringleader, was invoked at one point, linking Diddy, Epstein, to government politicians, Hollywood celeb, and mainstream musicians, including Oprah Winfrey, the gatekeeper to Epstein Island, Vince Neil drunk driving fatal accident, 1 dead, 2 permanently brain damaged, 30 days in jail. Or Johnny Depp lost everything including his career when he was accused of domestic abuse. Only when truth came out it was found his ex-wife Amber Heard was the actual abuser attempting to destroy her victim in public view. No justice for the false accusation or emotional and reputational damage caused. Just like when E. Jean Carroll sued Trump for rape and won the civil trial. She couldn't go to criminal court for she had zero evidence, zero recollection of the date of the falsified attack, zero witnesses. Trump would have been cleared of all charges in a criminal court. A law was created just to give Carroll the right to sue in New York. It is now legal to sue someone of rape even just by accusation. You can take someone to civil court to gain court-ordered profit. Filled circle, signal the SOS. The Republic is facing execution as in attempted assassination of a presidential candidate July 13th and Sept. 15th, as well as 2 foiled attempts by Iran, as well as intentional hacking by foreign countries, an act of war, which in turn is a direct attack on the U.S. Constitution, that grants we the people the power over government through the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. July 4, 1776. Signs of foreign interference in American elections. Signs of devolution. Filled circle, a falling country in distress on the brink of World War III. A repeated pattern within tyrannical government leading to a second Holocaust on U.S. soil, looming victims Jews and truth-tellers Trump supporters. Tyrants would rather start World War III than to relinquish their lifelong power in government. Closer to World War III than one might think. Intentionally created wars between Russia-Ukraine, China-Taiwan, China-USA, Israel-Iran, Israel-Yemen, USA-Russia, Iran-USA, Taliban-USA. Filled circle, unity to defeat tyranny. Having faith that by means of ballot box standing behind Donald J. Trump, we can take back our country from tyrannical government. A country that is rightfully ours, created for the people by the people. Per U.S. Constitution, Donald J. Trump has something brewing behind the scenes as well. A military sting operation under the rare presidential powers called devolution, signed into effect around 2018 with a few executive orders, including EO 13848 special precautionary laws made in ties of foreign interference in elections. Devolution was proven when Trump formed the office of the former president of the USA while leading the White House in January 2021, preserving his administration under military protection, under the presidential powers of devolution. Hence why Democrats are so obsessed with Trump's Arlington Cemetery visit in 2024, honoring the 13 Gold Star military members who died during Biden's failed Afghanistan withdrawal. Who appears at those events? Military personnel, as in, Trump had an official undercover presidential military briefing about the upcoming election. Signs of a military sting operation, soon to be revealed, for in the coming days we the people can set aside our differences just this once and stand united worldwide. For through Donald J. Trump, the world shall know peace, for he vowed to end the New World Order. Cryptically speaking, for he was already president with his hands on the JFK files, and he is one of the few who has the kahunas to fight. With every inch of life, an act of extreme bravery. Semper Fidelis to the heart of a Marine. Semper Parity to those of us witnessing. Always be prepared is what that means. Heart folded hands, heart die for what you know, or rise with heart-shaped sleeves. The musician crossroads, forging legends from within, souls sparked by flames of desires. Hashtag mentally disabled united movement. Hashtag we are the world. Hashtag unity through music, a revolution of complete unity within a bloodless revolution through the ballot box. On the brink of World War III will lead to world peace. Sincerely, activist of the truth. Cory James Steele. P.K.A. Lil Simia. Autistic musician, romantic emo poet, researcher, philosopher, visionary. Unlicensed psychologist. CEO and founder. Mind of Monkey Studio. Unleash the personalities. Singing honestly about the past and the present to secure a better future. Cory Lil Simia Steele.